This is your Weather Xtreme video for Sunday, October the 4th. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Still got a lot of weather to talk about, but there's good news. There's some improvement on the way. Let's take a look at the surface map, and we've got this surface low that's not Joaquin, by the way, over on the southeastern U.S. coast, and that is certainly creating a lot of trouble for the Carolinas, especially South Carolina, due to the tropical moisture that is coming off of Joaquin and reaching the southeastern United States. In the upper atmosphere, we can see the edge of Joaquin on the very eastern side of on the right side of the graphic. We do have this pesky upper low that has been rotating over the southeastern U.S. It is still located over South Georgia and North Florida, but it's expected to move, and as it does, we'll see a replacement of the upper air pattern with the ridge that is now to our west, and then eventually we're going to have to deal with that closed low on the California coast. But let's talk about Joaquin. There's three areas of interest in the tropics. Areas 1 and 2 are not expected to become anything in the way of organized systems in the near future. And then Joaquin is located away from the Bahama area and moving towards Bermuda. And by the track of the National Hurricane Center, it looks like it's going to come very close to Bermuda. So they may be very concerned over there, and they do have a hurricane warning in effect. Looks like it should pass just to the west of Bermuda, probably during the evening tonight or very early on Monday morning. And I know they're bracing for very strong conditions over there. Across the southeastern U.S., temperatures this morning are in the 50s. By the way, Birmingham didn't get out of the 50s yesterday. They had a high of 59 degrees, which I think is a record cool high. And 20 degrees below where we typically are for this time of October. We typically see highs around 79, the 30-year average. On the radar, we can see that rain is still occurring across parts of the southeastern U.S., especially South Carolina. They're really taking it in the neck over there. And let's take a look at this. Is the radar from Columbia, and you can certainly see that that rain is just flooding the whole area, and lots of floodings going on. And there's a look at the radar estimate of rain, but we can also look at the estimate of rain from the National Weather Service, and you can see that in this chart along the coast there, some of those amounts are over 16 inches. And the National Weather Service has issued, on behalf of the South Carolina Emergency Management Agency, this civil emergency message asking people to safely remain where they are due to the severe weather and the flash flooding that's occurring across the state. So it's flooding generally of record proportions across the area. On our QPF, let's look at the watch warning map. And basically, we have a lot of flash flood watches and warnings in effect for the Carolinas, North and South Carolina, especially South Carolina again. And we do have a flash flood watch out just to the east of El Paso. On the QPF heavy rain, excessive rain outlook, we've got high risk over South Carolina today. On Monday, it drops back to a moderate risk as it moves off onto the North Carolina coast. So that'll be a welcome relief for them. And interestingly enough, the Storm Prediction Center is not outlooking any severe weather. All right, let's get to the 06Z GFS model run this morning. And there's a look at the surface map for midday at 18Z or 1 o'clock. There's Joaquin moving off and the rain occurring over the Carolinas, especially South Carolina. And in the upper atmosphere, we can see that closed low migrating a little further to the east and south over primarily the northern Florida peninsula. That closed low moves off the Florida coastline, off of Jacksonville, out into the southwest Atlantic as Joaquin continues to move well out into the Atlantic. We see the ridge moving in over the lower Mississippi River Valley, so we've got some improving weather on Monday. And then the closed low is moving into Southern California, got Southern California and South Carolina. Southern California, and that is going to be a feature we're going to need to watch. In the meantime, as I say, weather is improving across our area, so we should be rid of this dreary, cool weather. In the upper atmosphere on Tuesday, the closed low off of Jacksonville moves out into the Atlantic and opens up into an open wave. The ridge continues to move our way. We see the ridge pretty much over the lower Mississippi River Valley on Wednesday, and so that should give us a beautiful day across the southeastern U.S. and much of the lower Mississippi River Valley. Temperatures climbing back up into the lower 80s, just a few degrees above where we typically are for this time of year. On Thursday, the GFS is suggesting that the closed low will become detached from the trough moving into the western Great Lakes. And that means that we should probably be dry on Thursday as rain occurs in the western Great Lakes and back into West Texas. And interestingly enough, yesterday we had some model differences, but here is the European for Wednesday. And indeed, they're both keeping the southeastern U.S. dry and both hinting at the possibility of a weak wedge. But typically we don't see the wedge pattern unless we have a 1030 high or higher over Pennsylvania and up into New York. By Friday, the trough is moving into the eastern Great Lakes and again detaching from the closed low over the Big Bend country of Texas. On Saturday, the closed low over the Big Bend country begins to open into an open wave as the trough moves off the coast and into New England as another piece of energy comes into the western Great Lakes. And once again, the GFS is keeping us dry. They were wet yesterday, but they've actually come into a more agreement with the European, and the European for Saturday is a little wetter. Interesting, they've kind of flip-flopped here, but showing that the rain stays to our north across Tennessee and points to the northeast of that. Sunday, a week from today, we have this fairly substantial ridge over the central part of the United States, fairly nice trough just off the east coast, and the result is that once again we should stay dry. So while we may have to put in a small risk, like a slight chance for some showers Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, looks like most of us will stay dry. And the European agreeing with the GFS with a fairly substantial high over North Texas, nosing across the southeastern U.S. Looking out into Voodoo country, we stay with a pretty active weather pattern. There's a substantial trough coming across the Great Lakes around the 14th. This is 13th, 14th kind of time frame, and that could spell some rain for us. And then on the 19th, and this would make for an 18th, kind of 19th time frame, looks like a wet pattern, as well as a real substantial cool down with that strong northwesterly flow coming all the way, if you follow it back from Birmingham, all the way back into southern Canada. So, the height contours, the 540 line that we often watch for demarcation between rain and snow, the 540 line gets all the way down into the Ohio River Valley. So it could be some chilly air for the middle of the October month. Well, that'll do it for the Weather Xtreme video for the Sunday edition. James Spann should be back first thing on Monday with the next edition of the Weather Xtreme video. In the meantime, stay tuned to the blog for weather updates on all of this weather going on. I'm meteorologist Brian Peters. Thanks for tuning in. Godspeed.